My husband hated me for an entire decade after the death of his true love. I tried everything to please him, but he only scoffed. If you really want to make me happy, go to hell. That hit hard. But it hit even harder when a truck barreled toward me and he threw himself in front of it. Sebastian saved my life, only to die in a pool of blood. Before his last breath, he looked into my eyes and said, "If only I'd never met you." At his funeral, his mother wept, "I should never have forced him to marry you. He and Jillian belonged together." His father looked at me with pure resentment. "Sebastian saved your life 3 times. Why weren't you the one who died?" Everyone blamed me. Even I did. I was kicked out of the funeral. 3 years later, a time machine was invented. I didn't hesitate, I traveled back. This time, I would cut all ties with Sebastian. Let him be happy. Let everyone be happy. But something went wrong. The machine didn't take me to the beginning. I opened my eyes and there he was, Sebastian Payne, 13 years younger, standing in front of City Hall. We were moments away from getting married. His voice hit me like ice. "My parents are threatening to kill themselves if I don't marry you, Sienna Rouse. You must be proud. But even if we go through with this, what do you think you'll get out of it? Happiness?" He smirked. The Sebastian from the future was colder, calm and guarded. But this younger version still carried fire in his eyes. "Sebastian," I said, steadying my breath, "you don't want to marry me because you love Jillian Brown, right?" He stiffened slightly, then scoffed. "Yeah. So what? We're already here. You think there's a way out?" "There is," I said quietly. He let out a sharp laugh. "I'm done with your mind games. Just sign the papers. Get the certificate." He walked away. In both timelines, I had loved him for years. And in both, he never loved me. Even his parents once told me, "Sebastian has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. If he didn't love you, why would he risk his life for you?" But they were wrong. He saved me because he was kind, not because he loved me. Before I turned the dial on the machine, I had been told, if I could resolve Sebastian's 3 greatest regrets, I could free us both. The first was marrying me. So I signed the papers, using Jillian's name. Sebastian was waiting outside. I handed him the envelope, but when he tried to look, I stopped him. "Tomorrow, there'll be a surprise," I said with a smile. He narrowed his eyes. "You're acting weird. Are you that happy to marry me?" "Honestly," I whispered, "I'm just happy you're alive." A nearby couple walked by, excited. "There's going to be a once-in-a-century meteor shower tonight. They say couples who watch it together stay in love forever." I remembered watching it with him in my past life, hoping he'd fall for me. But all he did was laugh. "A meteor shower? You think that'll fix a fake marriage?" This time, I didn't hope. But to my surprise, Sebastian said, "If you want to see it, I'll go with you. But no honeymoon. I've got work." I nodded. He flagged a taxi. "I'll pick you up later." Then his phone rang. Jillian hurt her hand. "I need to check on her. Go home on your own, all right?" "All right," I said. "You used to hate when I went to see her," he muttered. "Changed your mind?" Before I could answer, he added coldly, "Doesn't matter. We're married now. She's no threat." He left. He didn't see my bitter smile. The truth? I had never tried to keep him from Jillian, except once. Years ago, I saw Jillian kiss an older man. Later, I learned she had been with several sugar daddies. That's when I tried to stop Sebastian. But he never knew. Even after her death, he spent 10 years drowning in guilt. If I had to choose, I'd rather see him alive and with Jillian than dead and broken by regret. I went to the university to secure my admission and then returned home. Sebastian's mother, June, greeted me warmly. "You're back. Got the certificate? Where's Sebastian?" He had something urgent at work. She frowned. That boy. On such an important day. His father, Callum, just laughed. "They're married. Dinner can wait." Watching them, my heart ached. "Mr. and Mrs. Payne," I said gently. "We didn't get the certificate. I finalized plans to study abroad. I'm leaving in a few days." June's face fell. "What? Did Sebastian pressure you? You know how much you mean to him. And you studied psychology on your own just to help him." Callum nodded. He's just stubborn. Once you're married, he'll come around. They said all of this before, and it only led to pain. I reached for June's hand. You can't force love. He never loved me. I had a dream last night. In it, we married. But he avoided me. He worked himself sick. When I brought him soup, he refused it. He told me I brought him more pain than joy. And when he was 30, he died saving me. June's eyes filled with tears. I know it was just a dream, I continued, but maybe it's a warning. Maybe we're not meant to be. I just want him to live. Sebastian loved music. He hated business. He only gave it up because of the injury he got saving me. He only married me because of family pressure. I was the mistake. And I don't want to be that mistake again. I'll still take care of you both, I whispered. Even if I'm not your daughter-in-law, I'll be your daughter. They nodded, silently weeping. That was his second regret, not standing up to his parents. Maybe, in this timeline, I helped him do that. The time machine gave me 36 hours. One regret remained. As night fell, I walked to the observatory alone. The stars were just beginning to fall. The wind was gentle atop the observatory hill, brushing against my skin like a whisper from the universe, reminding me that time was fleeting. I looked up. The sky was dark velvet, scattered with stars. The meteor shower hadn't started yet, but even without it, the view was breathtaking. It had been 13 years since I last stood in this exact spot, watching the heavens and foolishly hoping the stars could fix a broken heart. A soft set of footsteps approached from behind. I didn't turn around. I thought you'd be gone by now. Sebastian's voice broke the silence. I turned slightly. I wanted to see the meteor shower. You really like this kind of stuff, huh? He stepped beside me, hands tucked into his coat pockets. You and your silly dreams. I didn't flinch at the mockery. I knew him too well. His insults were armor he had built to protect wounds he never let anyone see. Instead, I smiled gently. I guess I've always liked things that don't last. Maybe that's why I held on to you for so long. That caught him off guard. He shifted, glancing sideways. You're talking like we're not married. I exhaled. Because we're not. Not really. You just haven't read the papers yet. A flash of confusion crossed his face, followed by a scoff. What are you trying to do, Sienna? Win some moral high ground? Prove you're better than me? No, I whispered. I'm just trying to set you free. The first meteor streaked across the sky, long and golden. Then another. Soon, dozens painted trails of light above us. Sebastian fell silent. Jillian, I said quietly, she's waiting for you. At the clinic. Her hand's worse than you think. He looked at me sharply. How do you know that? I just do. Go to her, Sebastian. And this time, don't let her go. He stared at me like he wanted to argue, but something in my eyes stopped him. His jaw clenched. Then, without another word, he turned and left. As his figure disappeared down the hill, I closed my eyes and made a wish. Let this be enough. I stayed until the last meteor faded. Alone, but at peace. When I returned to the hotel, the time machine's interface was blinking softly. 34 hours had passed. I had 2 left. Sebastian's third and final regret was not saving Jillian. And this time, I had given him that chance. I sat down, clutching the journal page I had ripped from his old notebook before the jump. His regrets were inked with so much pain, the handwriting shaky. If I truly succeeded in resolving them all, then when I returned to my time, Sebastian might still be alive. I pressed my hand over my heart. Please, let him be alive. The time machine glowed faintly in the dark hotel room, its core humming like a distant heartbeat. My hands trembled as I reached for it. Only 2 hours left. If I didn't return before time ran out, I'd be trapped in this past forever, or worse, erased entirely. I sat on the edge of the bed, the silence around me thick with uncertainty. Had I done enough? Would changing the wedding, convincing his parents, and sending him to Jillian really alter fate? My phone buzzed suddenly. Unknown number, you changed something. We need to talk. My heart stopped. That wasn't just any message. Only one person could have sent it, the Watcher. The one who had given me the time machine. Seconds later, the hotel room phone rang. I picked up. Time is a fragile thread, Sienna, the watcher's voice said, calm and cold. You've pulled at it with trembling hands, but now the fabric is fraying. Come to the rooftop, now. I raced up the emergency stairs, taking them two at a time. The moment I pushed the door open, the wind howled around me. And there he was, tall, cloaked, and standing in front of the machine's twin-core beacon. You didn't tell me the jump would land me at the wedding, I said, breathless. I didn't control when you'd land. The time machine chose that moment because it was the crossroads of all three regrets. I fixed two of them, I insisted. The wedding, and his parents. He's with Jillian now. He'll choose her. The watcher turned slowly. His face was lined with age, but his eyes glowed with unnatural clarity. You gave him the chance. That's all we can do. But the final regret, saving Jillian, depends not on you, but on fate. And fate isn't easily rewritten. My chest tightened. What do I do? Nothing, he replied simply. In 1 hour, you'll return to your time. Either Sebastian will be alive, or not. The path you've paved is fragile. One wrong step, one moment of doubt, and it may unravel. He stepped closer. But be warned, Sienna. Love does not guarantee salvation. If Jillian lies again, if she was never worth saving, then Sebastian's heart may still break. And a broken man will always find a way to die young. I froze. You think Jillian's still hiding something? I know she is. Lightning flickered in the distance. The watcher reached into his coat and handed me a small device. A recorder. You have one chance to intercept the truth. Use this wisely. Record what you must. And when you return, decide if Sebastian deserves the truth, or peace. He vanished into the shadows before I could ask more. 1 hour left. I opened my phone, shaking. Sebastian had just sent me a message. Sebastian, Sienna. Can we talk? I saw what you did. I need to understand why. I stared at the screen, the weight of 10 years and 3 lives pressing down on my chest. I typed back. Meet me at the alley behind Wren Street. The one where we first met. The place where he'd saved me. The first time. The place where the piano prodigy lost his future for a girl who loved him too much. I didn't know what I'd find there. But I knew who I was going to fight for. The alley hadn't changed. 13 years later, or earlier, depending on how you looked at it, it still smelled faintly of damp concrete and forgotten promises. Rusted pipes lined the brick walls, and a flickering street lamp buzzed overhead. I wrapped my coat tighter around myself as the wind whipped down the narrow corridor. Sebastian was already there. He leaned against the wall in the exact spot he had once bled for me, hands buried deep in his pockets, his expression unreadable. His sharp jaw was clenched, but his eyes, those damn eyes, were stormy and restless. You picked a strange place to meet, he muttered. I picked the place where everything changed, I replied softly. He looked up, gaze flickering with unease. Why did you put Jillian's name on the license? Because I wanted you to have the life you should have had, I said. Not the one that was forced on you. Not with me. Not out of guilt or pressure. You think I married you out of guilt? His voice was sharp, cutting. You think that's why I risked my life for you? 3 times? My breath caught. Didn't you? Silence. His gaze dropped. You don't understand. I understand enough, I said. I read your journal, Sebastian. Your regrets. Regret number 1, marrying me. Regret number 2, not standing up to your parents. Regret number 3. He looked up sharply. Not saving Jillian. For a moment, he looked like I'd slapped him. How do you know all that? Because I had to know. Because I'm not the same Sienna. I came back to change your ending. Sebastian stepped forward, his face darkening. Is that what this is to you? Some twisted redemption story? You think if you play hero and bow out gracefully, I'll be grateful? No. My voice cracked. I think, if I can stop you from dying, it'll finally be worth the pain. He looked at me then, really looked at me. Dying? My hand reached for the recorder in my pocket, but I didn't press play yet. You're supposed to die, Sebastian, I said. At 30. Trying to save me, again. Because you never stopped trying to protect me. Even when you hated me. He opened his mouth, but the words didn't come. Don't you see? I whispered. Even after all the bitterness, the distance, the resentment, you still threw yourself in front of a truck to save me. You may have hated me, but your heart never changed. Tears threatened to fall, but I kept my voice steady. I came back to stop that from happening. To give you your life back. If being with Jillian makes you happy, then be with her. If you want to chase music again, chase it. Don't die for me. Not again. Sebastian looked haunted. You talk like you've already lost me. I did. I watched you bleed out in front of me. I heard your last words. If only I'd never met you. And I lived with that echo for 10 years. He turned away, running a hand through his hair. I didn't mean it. It doesn't matter. I smiled, heartbreaking. I forgave you anyway. Then, I pulled out the recorder and clicked play. Jillian's voice came through, shaky, panicked. A voicemail from her phone, recorded the day before the wedding. I told Sebastian the baby wasn't his. I needed money, so I told the truth to his mom. She said if I disappeared, they'd pay me double what I asked. I never meant for things to go this far. Please. Someone help me. Sebastian went pale. I got that message yesterday, I said. From a burner number. Someone knew I'd need it. He collapsed onto the step behind him, stunned. She lied? She took the money. Faked her way out. Let you grieve for 10 years, Sebastian. While I stayed by your side and watched you destroy yourself. His head dropped into his hands. I wasted so much time. No, I whispered, sitting beside him. You loved deeply. Even if it was misdirected. Even if it broke you. A pause. Then he looked at me again, voice raw. So what happens now? I looked at the sky. Now? We wait. I've done all I can. If fate's been rewritten, you'll live past 30. And if it hasn't? Then at least I got to say goodbye the right way. We sat in silence as the stars began to fade and the world shifted toward morning. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the cold hotel bed, the faint blue glow of the time machine slowly pulsing beside me. The hum was gone. The countdown had ended. I had returned. My heart raced as I sat up. The last thing I remembered was watching Sebastian in that alley, his eyes full of anguish, his world collapsing in slow motion. I had left him there, with the truth, with Jillian's voice still ringing in his ears, and the weight of a future he never asked for. Now, everything felt different. I reached for my phone, fingers trembling. If time had shifted, the evidence would be there, in the details. I opened my gallery. There it was. A photo of a smiling Sebastian. Dated yesterday. Age, 31. Caption, my first recital since college. Thank you all for believing in me. My breath caught in my throat. He was alive. The time machine had worked. I collapsed onto the mattress, tears spilling freely. Not because I had saved him, but because he had finally chosen to save himself. Then the phone buzzed. Sebastian. I had a dream last night. You were crying in an alley. And when I woke up, I knew I owed you more than I ever gave. I don't remember everything, but something's changed. I want to see you. Can we meet? I stared at the message for a long moment, unable to move. Something inside me shifted, not joy, not relief, but something quieter. A peace I hadn't known in over a decade. I typed back. Me. Only if we can go somewhere with a piano. He replied almost instantly. Sebastian. Meet me at the recital hall. I'll play for you. The recital hall was nearly empty when I arrived. Just a few scattered chairs, sunlight pouring in through the tall windows, dust dancing in golden beams. And Sebastian, standing on stage, adjusting the bench, rolling up the sleeves of his crisp button-down. His fingers looked steady, confident, whole. He looked up when I stepped in, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. I didn't think you'd come, he said softly. I didn't think you'd remember. He gave me a half smile. I don't remember everything. But I remember enough. I remember pain. And a lot of silence. But I also remember a girl who stayed. A girl who smiled even when I didn't deserve it. I walked closer. And now? I asked. He gestured to the piano. Now, I want to play something I wrote. For you. I think I've always been trying to write it. I just never got the ending right. Sebastian sat down and rested his fingers on the keys. And when the music began, I felt the past unravel. Every cold night. Every unspoken word. Every moment I wondered if love could be one-sided forever. All of it melted into the melody. It wasn't perfect. Some notes trembled. Others missed. But it was real, alive. And when the final chord rang out and he looked up at me with glassy eyes, I finally understood. I had gone back to save him. But in doing so, I had saved myself too. The final note hung in the air like a breath held too long. Then silence. Sebastian stayed seated at the piano, his fingers resting lightly on the keys, as though letting go would make the moment vanish. I didn't move either. For the first time in years, or maybe lifetimes, there was nothing left to run from. I didn't know how to say it before, he said finally, voice low. Everything I felt for you. It was buried under so much grief. So much confusion. But that night, when I got that message, when I saw what you did, it was like something in me cracked open. I stepped closer, heart pounding. You remembered? Not everything. Just pieces, dreams, feelings that don't fit with the memories I thought I had. He turned to face me, eyes searching mine. But one thing keeps echoing. What? That I died. Hating you. And that you still loved me anyway. The words stabbed like glass, but I nodded. I did. He stood up slowly. Sienna, why didn't you tell me the truth about Jillian sooner? About what she did? I hesitated, then answered honestly. Because you needed to find the truth for yourself. If I had forced it on you, you never would have believed me. You would have hated me more. He looked down at the stage floor, guilt tightening his features. I was so blind. I thought I was fighting for something pure. But it was a lie. It wasn't your fault, I said softly. You loved someone and she broke you. But Sebastian, you still saved me. 3 times. Even when I didn't deserve it. He looked back up, eyes glistening. You always deserve to be saved. I just didn't know how to show you that. A long silence followed. Then, with hesitant steps, he walked toward me. I don't want to waste this second chance, he whispered. I don't know what changed, or how we got here, but I want to try again. With everything honest between us this time. I held my breath. I don't need a perfect version of the past. I just need to know if you're willing to walk forward with me now. My voice cracked when I answered, Sebastian. I never stopped walking. I just didn't know if you'd ever turn around. He exhaled a laugh, shaky, almost disbelieving. Then, without another word, he pulled me into a hug so fierce it stole the air from my lungs. His arms weren't cold or reluctant anymore. They were steady, warm, real. And for the first time since the day I saw him die, I let myself believe it was over. That the pain, the loss, the ache of wondering what if, had finally been rewritten. As we stood there in the quiet of the recital hall, his voice broke the silence one more time. I don't know what our story is anymore. But I want to write a new one. I looked up at him, heart full. So do I. And somewhere, in the echo of fading piano notes, our second chance truly began. Sebastian and I walked out of the recital hall into a world that felt unfamiliar, like slipping into a story I'd never read before. The sky was pale with morning light, the streets still quiet. Everything around us looked the same, but everything inside us had changed. I called my mother this morning, Sebastian said, as we walked slowly down the sidewalk. Told her about the truth. About Jillian. About everything. I glanced at him carefully. How did she take it? He exhaled a long breath, badly. But also, with guilt. She said she'd always suspected something, but she wanted so badly to believe Jillian was the right choice for me, that she ignored her instincts. I nodded. She wasn't the only one. He stopped walking. Sienna, I need to ask you something. When I said I wished I'd never met you. Was that true? My stomach twisted. It hurt more than anything, but I understood why you said it. You were dying. In pain. And full of regret. I regret saying it, he said quietly. Because the truth is, Even with all the damage, the silence, the years wasted, I've never met someone who held on like you did. I don't know why I pushed you away so hard. I looked at him, voice barely audible. Because you thought you didn't deserve love. He blinked. You thought you had to atone, I continued. For Jillian. For your injury. For being forced into a life you didn't want. But the truth is, Sebastian, you were worthy of love the whole time. His eyes filled with something unspoken. Something raw. Then, he took my hand. So what now? Do we try again? Start over. I paused, squeezing his fingers gently. We don't need to start over. We need to start forward. He smiled faintly, the kind of smile that didn't reach his lips before, but now began to. That afternoon, we sat at a small cafe, something ordinary we hadn't done in what felt like forever. Sebastian scrolled through his phone and then looked up, brow furrowed. You applied to study abroad. But didn't go. Not in this timeline, I answered, sipping my tea. He tilted his head. You always wanted to go. Why didn't you? I looked at him, then down at the table. Because back then, I was too afraid to live without you. Even when you didn't love me, I couldn't let go. He leaned forward. And now? I still love you, I whispered. But this time, I love myself too. So if I go, it won't be because I'm running away, it'll be because I'm chasing something that matters to me. He smiled. Then I'll write to you every day. You'd better. I don't forgive easily anymore. He laughed, a sound I hadn't heard from him in years. Not forced. Not polite. But real. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. It wasn't perfect. It was better. Because this time, it was chosen. No guilt. No obligation. No time machines. Just us, two people who had hurt, healed, and somehow found our way back. And as the sun dipped behind the buildings, lighting the sky in soft orange and gold, I knew. This wasn't a borrowed life anymore. This was our beginning. The next few weeks passed like pages in a journal I never thought I'd get to write. Each day was simple, ordinary, even mundane, but it was exactly the kind of peace I'd once thought impossible. No whispered resentments. No walking on glass. Just two people, relearning how to exist side by side. Sebastian and I didn't rush anything. There were still shadows between us, but they no longer haunted. They only reminded us of what we'd survived. One rainy evening, as we stood beneath the awning of a bookstore, watching the storm blur the world into watercolor streaks, Sebastian turned to me. Do you ever think about what would have happened if the accident still occurred? I froze. He continued, if the truck had hit you. Or me. If none of this had changed? All the time, I admitted. There are nights I wake up expecting to hear your last words. Expecting to lose you all over again. He looked away, his jaw tense. And if I hadn't remembered, if none of those memories had come back? I smiled sadly. I didn't come back to make you remember, Sebastian. I came back to let you live. He took my hand, slowly intertwining our fingers. Then let's not waste the time we've been given. A few days later, I returned to the alley. Not for closure, but to thank it. That forgotten stretch of broken pavement had marked our beginning, our unraveling, and, strangely, our renewal. I stood quietly in the fading afternoon light, watching raindrops slide down the walls like teardrops time had finally let go of. That's when I heard footsteps behind me. I knew I'd find you here, Sebastian said. I turned to him. You remembered this place. I don't think I ever forgot. He paused. This is where I made the mistake of thinking you were just someone I saved, instead of someone who saved me. My throat tightened. You saved me more than once. And now, he said, I want to give you something. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was old, slightly crinkled, the edges worn by time. My journal, he explained. The real one. From before everything fell apart. I unfolded it slowly. The ink was faded, but still legible. 3 lines stared back at me. I regret marrying Sienna when I couldn't love her properly. I regret not standing up to my parents. I regret not saving Jillian. And beneath it, written in fresher ink. But now, I regret all the time I wasted not seeing Sienna for who she really was. And I don't want to live another moment without her. Tears burned at the corners of my eyes. You rewrote your regrets. He nodded. Because you helped me rewrite my life. We stood there, under the gray sky, holding the past in our hands, but no longer living in it. I love you, I said, for the first time in this new timeline. Sebastian didn't hesitate. I've always loved you. I just didn't know how to deserve it. And in that moment, I realized something profound. We hadn't changed fate. We had simply earned our way out of it. The day I left for my graduate program overseas, the airport buzzed with the chaos of goodbyes and new beginnings. Sebastian stood beside me at the gate, his hands buried in his jacket pockets, but his eyes never left mine. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked, though there was no anger in his voice, only a quiet kind of ache. I've never been more sure of anything, I said. This isn't goodbye. It's just the life I was always meant to live. Not the version of me that clung to you in silence. The version that found her own voice. He nodded, lips pressed together. And when you come back? I smiled. If our paths still align, then maybe it won't be about saving each other anymore. Maybe it'll just be about being. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small box. I wasn't going to give this to you yet, but I figured you should choose when. Inside was a necklace, silver, with a tiny pendant shaped like a comet. The kind that streaks across the sky once in a lifetime. For the girl who waited for a meteor shower to change her life, he said. I closed my hand around it, overwhelmed. Thank you. For everything. No, he said, his voice steady. Thank you. For going back. For changing the ending. I leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to his cheek. I didn't change it alone. As they called final boarding, I stepped onto the plane, carrying nothing with me except a suitcase, a comet, and the full weight of a story rewritten not with miracles, but with choice. 1 year later, I returned home to a small city that had changed just enough to feel new. At the local gallery, a charity auction was being held. The centerpiece, a piano piece composed and performed by Sebastian Payne. Proceeds went toward music therapy for trauma survivors. I watched from the crowd as he sat at the grand piano, posture relaxed, confidence flowing from his fingers into the keys. This time, there was no hesitation. No shadow of Jillian. No burden of the past. Only light. After the performance, he spotted me before I could approach him. He broke into a grin, one I hadn't seen in years. I was hoping you'd come. I wouldn't miss it, I said, holding up the pendant he'd given me. Still wearing it. I'm glad. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I have something for you. He handed me a worn leather-bound book. It was his journal. The original, and the updated one. Side by side. Inside the final page, a new entry had been written. Greater than today, I saw her in the crowd again. Her smile still stops time. I don't know what the future holds. But if she says yes, I'll never waste another moment trying to rewrite the past. I'll just write the rest, with her. I looked up, breath hitching. Are you asking me to stay? No, he whispered, pulling me into his arms. I'm asking if I can go wherever you go. For the first time in forever, I said yes without fear. Because love wasn't about rewriting time. It was about living the time we're given, with someone who chooses you back. 3 years later. The air was warm that morning, the kind of golden hush that made everything feel possible. Our home sat on the edge of the city, wrapped in ivy and morning light, the piano room's windows flung open to let in the breeze. Inside, I sat curled on the window seat, coffee in hand, listening to the quiet hum of keys being tested in the next room. Sebastian never played the same song twice. He said music was like love, it had to be lived, not repeated. I glanced down at my laptop, rereading the last paragraph of the manuscript I'd spent the last 6 months writing. It was a memoir. Not just mine, ours. Not the tragic version that had nearly come true. The real one. The one where a woman used a second chance not to rewrite the man she loved, but to release him from the past. And in return, he'd found his way back to her. A knock came on the frame. Sebastian leaned in, hair a little messy, a pencil stuck behind his ear like always. Finished? He asked. I closed the laptop slowly. Yeah. Final chapter's done. He walked over and sat beside me, looking down at the screen. Does it end the way you want it? I nodded. It ends the way it needed to. He rested his forehead against mine. Then maybe it's time to let the rest of the world read it. I smiled. Maybe. But I don't think it's the ending anymore. It's just where we stop writing and start living. A small giggle echoed from down the hall. Our daughter, Ava, poked her head around the corner. Her curls bounced with every step as she ran to us, carrying a drawing of stars and a piano and crayon. Look. It's the song Daddy played when he met Mommy. She beamed. Sebastian laughed. Close enough. I pulled her into my lap, heart full. It's perfect, sweetheart. As the three of us sat there, tangled in sunlight and music and second chances, I thought of the girl I used to be, the one who begged to be loved, who begged for fate to change. And I thought of the woman I became. Not because fate changed for me, but because I changed it. We never told anyone about the time machine. We never had to, because the proof wasn't in the science. It was in the life we chose to build, day by day. Not perfect, but ours. And in the end, that was the greatest rewrite of all.